Okay, I'm going to do a swing analysis today of David Duval, and this was a golf swing that was really based on rhythm and rotation through the golf ball. And I tell you, when he was on top of his game, I don't care who you are, you're going to have a hard time beating him. Alright, so let's get into his setup and kind of some traits that he has. Now, his ball flight was described as a hot cut. He plays with a strong grip. So with the thumb and index finger lines are running here, with his left and right hand kind of over here in his right shoulder area. That's going to expose more knuckles on top here of his left hand. Alright, when we look at his arm hang here, his right elbow is pointed at his right hip. His left elbow is pointed out just a touch. Now, when we look at his left foot, you can see it's laid off just a little bit here. It's going to help him rotate through the golf ball and get to his finish easier. Alright, so we'll go over here on the left for a moment. I'll just draw a line down from his chin. You can see his hands are hanging inside of that, kind of directly under his shoulders. And he plays with a relatively low hand position. Okay. Lower body looks relaxed, not getting too much knee flexion there. And all in all, he looks in a very comfortable setup for the most part here. So let's get into his swing. So one thing I noticed right away is if you put kind of a line on his head here, alright, he pretty much stays behind that line throughout his stroke. A good job of staying on the rear line, not losing his posture back in here though. Okay. Alright, so let's focus on his club just here for a moment. So as he goes back, see the club staying a little bit outside of his hands, but it's definitely shut at this moment. Okay? You can see the angle of that face pointing somewhat at the ground there. So the face is in a closed position. The shaft's starting to get a little vertical of its initial swing plane line. Alright, so we arrive at the top. So let's get rid of those two lines. You can see the left arm, even though it's running high, he's still in kind of a narrow arc here. The club is still pretty close to his shoulder. You see his right arm is in this angle now in a slightly down position pointed at the ground. And the club face, we'll go ahead and find it for a moment. You can see kind of in this angle pointed up towards the sky a little bit. So it's in a closed position at this moment. So what he wants to feel like is his club stays on top of this plane line. Alright? And from there, if he can focus just on his rotation, you can see his head already trying to pull off the ball and look down range. And from here, he's going to really just focus on his core rotating through the golf ball. Okay? He does not want a lot of hand action as he's hitting. And if he can do that, he can get the face back to relatively square here, okay? Because remember the face angle going back. Remember the direction it was pointed in this closed position, right? See, you can see it's pointed down in a closed position. So the club face is closed. As we see here, once he gets the club plane back on top where he wants, right? And he can focus on his rotation, he's able to now square up the face using that technique. Now the club's directly in line with his hands, okay, and he's in a great hitting position. Right elbow is right into the hip, left arm's out. Knuckles are in a good position even though they look like they're pointed off here. That's mainly due to his strong grip. That's why it appears like that. Okay. So again, you can see his core is rotating well. You can see both pockets of the pants here. You can see the head already rotating with the shot also. Right foot leaning in a little, and from here you can see he gets a little curved off with the body, but he was able to keep the club still in front of him. And as he drives through, you can see he keeps his legs flexed for a long time there. He's doing a good job of letting just the body release the face. Right? If you bring him all the way to his finish, it's like a poster finish, right? As far as where you want things to be. He is hanged back on his right foot a little bit. You can tell there's some weight back there, but that's just his style. Okay. Alright, so let's just show some things over here on the right for just a moment. Now some things I noticed that in his setup, if I just put a line here on his head, okay, and then we take him to impact, See, he's definitely behind that line, which is fine. And you can see his head's now kind of pointed off in that direction, right? Now some other things we noticed at impact, he's on the inside of this right foot, it hasn't spun off. It's allowing him to kind of drive this leg through. Left leg starting to post up pretty well as he's turning around this left hip. So he is a little bit in this tilted position, but like as we were describing here, he doesn't want too much of that because he wants to keep the club above the plane as he describes with what it feels like to him. But you can see his hands are still kind of in front of the golf ball. You can see his right hand at this moment has no tendency at all of wanting to rotate or roll over the left. So he's really driving hard with the back of this. And again, focusing on the rotation to get to his release and finish. Alright, I used to love watching this guy play back in the day. Like I said, he was a fierce competitor. Had a really smooth flowing swing. It was nice to watch. So, alright, that's David Duval, and you all have a good day. Thank you now.